County Board of Commissioners to order. I'd like to welcome the media and visitors. I'd also like to remind everyone to silence their cell phones and other devices so that we may conduct the people's business without interruption. Commissioner Timmy Rushing will give the invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Stand, please. You bow with me. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord God, thank you for this day. Thank you for all your many blessings, Lord, for the rain you've been sending. We appreciate that. Lord, I'd just like to ask you to continue to be with this country, this state, and this county, and the world, Lord. There's many things that's going on. Please be with the armed forces and the public safety and everybody that strives to keep us safe and out of harm's way and free. Lord, I'd like to ask you to be with the sick and the bereaved, and ask a special prayer for the Carlene Johnson family, Lord. She passed away, and she was a public servant for this county for many years, and her son still works with us and has been here a long time. Lord, I'd like to ask you to be with this commission. Help us to make the best decision for this whole county, Lord. Please lead, guide, and direct us, and most of all, whatever decisions we make, let them be pleasing to you. These things I ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Mincy White will now call the roll of the commissioners.
I, Venus Mincy White, present as clerk of the Board of Commissioners of Bulloch County, hereby call the roll for those on the governing body. All those present shall answer by saying aye. Chairman David Bennett.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Toby Connor.
Aye.
Commissioner Ray Mosley.
Aye.
Commissioner Anthony Simmons.
Aye.
Commissioner Nick Newkirk. Commissioner Timmy Rushing.
Aye.
And Commissioner Ray Davis. I've determined that we have all members of the Board of Commissioners present. Therefore, we have a quorum to conduct business for the good of the citizens of Bulloch County. I now yield the floor back to the chairman.
Thank you. Before I entertain a motion to approve the zoning agenda, do we have any discussion or modification desired by the county manager or the board? Hearing no discussion, I'll ask for a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second. All in favor? Motion passes without opposition. Mr. James Pope.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our first agenda item tonight is a conditional use request by Mr. Lloyd Strickland. The conditional use is to allow a facility to host public and private functions. It's located on Bell Road. Staff recommends approval of the conditional use, as well as planning and zoning recommended approval. The property is Zone Ag 5, which is the current conditional use is allowed or available in Ag 5 zoning. This is the approximate location of the use or of the application, again, in southeast Bulloch County. As shown here, this is the current zoning map. Area properties and character of the area are agricultural uses. Bell Road and Brooklet Denmark Road near that intersection, just to the east of Brooklet Denmark Road. And showing more detail of the property with this aerial photo, the proposed use would occur near the greenhouse location central to the property, as well as access would be on Bell Road, which is a county maintained dirt road. And this is a site plan that was submitted with the application. Again, showing vendor locations, proposed parking area, and other facilities that would support the operation of the business of the operation. We did consider it as the need for a private and public function conditional use as opposed to a single business, because there's multiple vendors. The way it functions be a farmer's market, so multiple vendors will be coming to the property. Again, almost like a festival setting where you have food trucks and things like that would come in potentially. But this is a location here as shown from Bell Road, the entryway, and it's really not visible from the roadway from where it would occur. And the property is a large lot parcel, so area property concerns are from our viewpoint minimal, and adjacent property again our concern is minimal here. So with that, again, staff recommended approval. I'll turn it over to Mr. Lloyd Strickland or his agent here tonight.
Hi, I'm Michelle Wilson. I am the owner of the Brooklet Farmers Market. And we are asking for use of the property for the farmers market.
Can you see if her mic is on?
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about your? Can you tell us a little bit about your farmers market, what you're doing out there?
All right, so we started out in Brooklet. It was a Brooklet Farmers Market. We have vendors, food trucks, artisans, bakers, mostly farmers. It's currently, I have a business there as a greenhouse where we grow vegetable and flower plants to sell to the public. And so we felt it was a better location for the farmers market, so we moved it from Brooklet to that location. So we would be open on Saturdays and have vendors and the public come in.
What time do you usually open, or what's your planned opening and closing time?
Plan is 2 to 5 on Saturdays.
And it's just on Saturdays, correct?
Yes.
Is there anybody that signed up? Okay. Y'all have any questions?
Were there any conditions with this?
Oh, no, sir, Commissioner Simmons. There are some supplemental standards, section 1440, that would, I guess, they would follow those supplemental standards rather than placing conditions.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve this.
Second.
So I do want to just go on record saying that there is no one signed up for opposition to this. So barring any other comments or information you'd like to provide, I do have a motion on the floor to approve.
You got a second, please.
All in favor? Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you.
All right, agenda item number 2 tonight is a rezoning request by Riverbluff Properties LLC, who's submitted the application to rezone approximately 61 acres from an agricultural 5 acres, to an R40 residential minimum 40,000 square foot lots. It'd be for the purpose of creating a single family subdivision. And the property is located on Highway 119 connector. Jim Anderson will serve as agent for Riverbluff Properties LLC. Staff recommends approval of the request with conditions. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended a denial by unanimous vote in their previous meeting. As previously stated, the current zoning is Ag 5. The general location as shown here on the map is southeast Bulloch County, far east side of the county, in the general area of Ivanhoe. And this is the current zoning map for the property. As you see, this property and others are zone Ag 5. Highway 119, I guess both north and south, are state maintained paved roads. Mud Road to the west is a county maintained paved road, but access would be to the state maintained roadway. This rezoning would be considered, I guess, a pioneering zoning for this area. Ivanhoe has been identified in the comprehensive plan map as a rural neighborhood. So the characteristics of the rural neighborhood is the design principles and the primary recommendation by staff that it does follow the comprehensive plan. There's an aerial of the property. Again, it's currently used in agriculture and timber use. And this is a site plan as provided by the applicant. The site plan does show 59 lots for the parcel of current parcel size of 61 acres. So approximately one house per acre. And this is the property at the time we placed a zoning notice, public hearing notice signed on the property. And within this photo, you will see where 119 connector enters into the highway, which was, and is shown in the staff report for the Board of Commissioners in the synopsis of Planning and Zoning Commission. That was a topic of conversation for the Planning and Zoning Board, as well as some environmental issues or concerns by residents. And all that is the concerns or synopsis for Planning and Zoning Commission meeting is included in your staff report. And with that, I will turn it over to Mr. Jim Anderson, who is agent for Riverbluff Properties.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. I'm Chris Gohagan. I'm a lawyer with Talby Rushing. I'm neither as smart or as good looking as Jim Anderson, but I do have the privilege of standing in as agent for this project tonight. And I'm pleased to be here to ask your consideration on behalf of Riverbluff Properties LLC for rezoning of 61 acres on Highway 119. It's designated as Bulloch County Map and Parcel ID 19500002002 from Ag 5 to R40 for construction of the single family residential subdivision that you see displayed on your monitor. I want to start by thanking Mr. Pope and all the members of staff for their thorough work on the report that you have in front of you tonight. As always, we have a very detailed report that provides you pretty much all the details you need to consider whether to approve this rezone request. And I want to thank them for their work on that and for their recommendation that it be approved tonight. I know a number of people are here tonight interested in this project, perhaps the majority of the room. I'm going to try to reserve the majority of our time to respond to any questions or concerns that you hear from them. But I am also joined tonight by Jason Reiner, who's a professional engineer with Parker Engineering, who's going to talk a little bit about access and traffic design for this project. At the start, again, I just want to point back to the staff report on this project and highlight some of the findings that they determined through their detailed review of this project that we believe are factors that support your consideration and approval of this rezone request. Beginning with the rezone standards. These are the standards that guide every decision that this body must make when a landowner comes to you with a request to change a zoning for a new use of their property. Staff has determined that this proposed use is suitable in view of the zoning and development of adjacent and nearby property, and we agree with that finding. Staff has determined that the proposed use will not adversely affect existing uses or suitability of adjacent or nearby properties, and we agree with that finding as well. Staff has determined that the proposed use will not cause an excessive or burdensome use of public facilities and services, including not limited to streets, schools, EMS, sheriff, or fire protection. We agree with that finding and have some additional data to provide to you tonight in support of that finding. Staff has determined the proposed use is compatible with the purpose and intent of the comprehensive land use plan. That includes both the Smart Bulloch 2045 comprehensive land use plan that was adopted by this body in June of 2024, as well as several prior iterations of this report, each of which designated this site and this area as rural neighborhood. And Ms. Mincy White, I'm going to tender a copy of the comprehensive land use plan to you for inclusion in the official record of this hearing. I would also ask that any minutes or auditory or video recordings of this meeting be included in the official record. Staff has determined that the proposed use will be consistent with the purpose and intent of the proposed zoning district. Critical to that finding, I believe, is just the fact that we are a growing community. This body invested heavily in a housing study. I was here in December when the most recent results of that study were presented, which indicate that in the next 5 years, our county is going to see a growth of 20% in our population. That represents roughly 20,000 new residents. They project that over 4,000 new building permits are going to have to be issued to meet the needs of that new population. This project is one of the pieces in the puzzle to meet our housing needs. I think most importantly, in terms of this staff report and every report that you review, staff has determined this proposed use reflects a reasonable balance between the promotion of the public health, safety, morality, and welfare, and the right to unrestricted use of property. Land use and zoning decisions are fluid decisions. They involve a delicate balance in every case of the right to an individual landowner's unrestricted use of their property and the concerns of the general populace. It's a very difficult balance to strike. I don't envy any of you for having the burden of bearing that decision. But ultimately, that's the question we have to ask with every project that comes before you. If this is going to be denied, is there a viable reason why the public health, safety, and welfare commands it? I know there are a bunch of people who are going to be concerned about this project. You're going to hear from many of them tonight. These are well-minded citizens who are concerned about their home and neighborhood. We believe that there are ways to build this project in a way to make it fit in the community and meet the needs of the county. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jason Reiner. He's going to share some additional details about traffic and access.
You have it? Okay.
This is basically just an exhibit that was done just to show everyone the.
Sir, I'm going to ask that you speak into the microphone.
Sorry about that. Just is an exhibit for the driveway that was done just to show the reconfiguration of the 119 intersection. The spur will be eliminated by the Georgia Department of Transportation. That area will become a four-way stop. And then with the reconfiguration, based on the comprehensive traffic report that was done for the property and the Georgia Department of Transportation design standards, a driveway would be able to go into the property with all the Georgia Department of Transportation requirements. And that's pretty much just what that was to determine.
So currently we have 8 individuals that have signed up to speak in opposition of this topic. I'm going to go off the reservation here, and in order to provide each one of them some time to speak their mind, I'm going to allow each one of them 2 minutes to come up and speak, unless you guys have someone that's going to come up and speak as a spokesman. Okay, everybody wants their 2 minutes. Fair enough. Before y'all start, I do want to add one thing to the record, to the minutes here. I've received a couple messages over the last week about this piece of property. I have one from the Ogeechee River Keepers in opposition to this piece of property. They have concerns about the septic waste and potential issues with it. I have another one from Coastal Communities United that lists multiple issues with traffic, overcrowding, and septic issues. And I have another one from Leisha Neville, who's a member of the school board, that says that she has concerns about the strain that this development will put on the school, particularly Stilson Elementary School. So, who's up first, Miss Mincy?
We have Clint Proudfoot.
Sure.
Real quick, this is, I realize I've only got 2 minutes, but I highlighted some things here, a little packet of basically what I wanted to speak about. I'm sorry, I only have 7.
Okay, I'll grab
I can give you mine when I get done.
it.
Try to highlight our concerns as citizens. I won't speak as well as Riverbluff, but I will read this and just hopefully can come to the heart from you. My name is Clint Prophet, and behind me are several concerned citizens of Bulloch County. We're here tonight to voice our serious concerns about the proposed development near our property and the surrounding area. While we fully support responsible growth, this particular proposal raises significant issues that affect our infrastructure, environment, safety, and overall quality of life. I'll begin with this. My family and I moved here from Bloomingdale in 2022, seeking refuge from the rapid unchecked development happening there. When we found our forever home, we did our due diligence. The surrounding land was on AG5. There was farmland all around us. When we met the neighbors and immediately felt we'd found a community and a way of life where our family and especially our children could truly thrive. We understood that AG5 zoning allowed for some development, perhaps one house every 5 acres, but we never imagined a high-density subdivision where 1 house per acre would be built practically in our front and side yards. If zoning classifications can be changed this easily, then what is the purpose of zoning at all? One of our primary concerns is the impact on agriculture and the preservation of rural Bulloch County, as mentioned in the 2045 comprehensive plan. This development would directly hinder local farmers' ability to operate adjacent lands, threatening the rural character and long-term viability of agriculture in the area. Traffic and safety concerns are critical. The intersection near the proposed site is notoriously dangerous. On February 17th, in fact, the survey crew en route to the site was involved in an accident at that location. Since January of this year, there have been 31 accidents at that intersection. January of last year. On one occasion, Lifestar had to land in my front yard to airlift a victim out. Additional accidents occurred in February, April, and May. Although actions are currently being taken to install a 4-way stop and roundabout at the intersection, it doesn't nullify the dangers of additional traffic in this area. According to GDOT, this development would add approximately 174 more vehicles to this area. This increased traffic will only raise the risk of serious accidents.
Thank you, sir.
Bruce Simon.
One thing about this, we really do not need more development in this time in this county. We got shortcomings now. We don't need no additional cost. This will be a burden on our emergency that far down in the county. Our police, and I don't care what the plans. The planning board is denied it, and I wish you guys would deny it at this point until we can get further studies to go forward. That's all I need. Thank you.
Mary Rogers.
Good afternoon. I'm Mary Rogers. I wasn't sure if I was going to get a minute to speak, but I wrote some things down. Mr. Bell purchased this property from my brother. This is a very large tract of land that was handed down through generations. My concern is more or less on a personal level. It was my great-grandparents that was then handed down to my grandparents, that was then handed down to my mother, and then myself, in which I fully thought that this would continue with my children. I feel like if this continues, if this is allowed, it's going to become a domino effect in that, especially in that area, and it won't stop. I have four parcels on that large tract. have 47 acres that are to the right that adjoin the parcel that Mr. Bell purchased. Currently, Will Groover, he farms that field as well as all the other fields on the property. Essentially, my acres that are on that right-hand side that adjoins is going to be not viable for him to farm. So essentially, I lose income, he loses income. That's a big deal, especially to farmers and myself. We still live on that property. We live on the back side of the property in which we've lived here on that property since 1995. A lot of my concerns are, we talk about we open these neighborhoods so that Bulloch County can get income, but there's no income going to be generated when they're
Thank you, ma'am.
in the area.
Edgar Emmett.
We've been having a time hearing back there, especially for us old folks. My major concern is with about 2.1 children per household. Is that going to be able to fit in Stilson's elementary school? And I suppose not. So we're going to have a new school. Where is that going to go? Just thought I'd bring that up. I've got a little over 2 decades in that residence of mine, and starting on the 3rd one. Good Lord willing, the creeks don't rise, I'll be here for another one. But that's my mainly concern. That and the traffic, and I don't even think a roundabout's going to hold all that in there. So that's me. I vote no.
Thank you, sir. I also want to take a minute to thank you for your service to our country.
Leroy Bridges Sr.
That is me, but I didn't sign up to speak. I didn't think I would anyway.
Okay.
I'm with this body bill.
All right. David Jackson.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I live on Eldora Road. We bought our place out there right at 3 years ago. It was nice, country setting, loved it. Everything was going good. I did understand that there was a development being built behind us, which didn't bother me at all. I got 3 3.25 acres, something like that. The traffic on Eldora Road is unreal in the 3 years I've been there. It's got to where it's like the Daytona 500 out there from about 6 in the morning till about 8, and in the evening from about 4 to 6. It's just like steady, steady, steady. Now you've got semi trucks, tractor and trailers that's supposed to take 119 over to 80. They're coming up and down Eldora Road, and that's causing problems. I don't know about y'all, but I can't see another development being built in that area when Mr. Bell just purchased 90 acres from Mr. Hagan back there behind Riverbluff for more housing. I don't understand how Mr. Bell can continue developing when last year, when the hurricanes came through and did a lot of damage, some people out of Riverbluff called the county and asked them when would they be getting debris pickup from the county. They were flat told that the county didn't recognize Riverbluff because the drainage and the roads was not up to the county codes. But yet, Robbie keeps building. Riverbluff properties keep building, and there's nothing being done about it. And I think it's time to start doing him like everybody else. If we have to go by the codes of Bulloch County, then so should the developers. And any of the breaks that the people are getting, that's developers, needs to stop and quit putting the burden on the citizens. I'm 70 years old, and
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
okay.
I'm not sure of the last name, but I think it's Casey Martin. Casey Martin.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to express some information that I was able to work with a state biologist for the Department of Natural Resources. He's mainly the head guy for the gopher tortoise in the state of Georgia. I actually own the property that is directly west of the property that Mr. Bell purchased. Purchased that in 2020, and since I've been out there, I've actually been able to witness gopher tortoises. I never had. But from that, there was a concern with knowing a developer was going to come out there and potentially destroy a resource that at one time was on the endangered species list. Mr. Hunt, and I'm going to read what he sent me in a text. I'll be glad for this to be added to the minutes. However, I needed to get it to you, but it was sent to me 15 minutes before I got here. But I want to read to you exactly what he had to say. He said, I visited the property of Mr. Martin and the other adjacent landowners in Bulloch County on May 30th, 2025. We encountered more than 30 gopher tortoise burrows and scoped more than 15 of those burrows. The majority of the gopher tortoise burrows we scoped were unoccupied, which is not uncommon. Gopher tortoises may use 1 to 3 burrows within a given year. Several burrows that were not scoped were clearly occupied, or gopher tortoises were seen sliding back into the burrow upon our arrival. In total, we detected 2 juvenile tortoises, 2 subadult tortoises, and 12 adult tortoises. We mostly visit areas easily accessible by roads, but more tortoises are expected to be present on site through the pine stands and scrub oak sandhill habitats present on the properties. No eastern indigo snakes were detected during our visit, but due to their ecology, these snakes would be predominantly utilizing floodplain habitats this time of year, which is just down the hill with all of our properties there. While it is unlikely that eastern indigo snakes are present on the reviewed parcels due to historical knowledge of the state's distribution, these areas still support a population of gopher tortoises.
Mr. Martin, my contact information. If you
Categorizes project components of the Department of Natural Resources and Wildlife Resource Division.
you'll just
Give it to you very much.
Anybody else?
that was all that was in opposition. Jason Reiner, he's for.
Okay.
He spoke earlier with
Mr. Reiner, I saw that you signed up to speak. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I thought we signed up if they needed.
Okay. So I believe the remainder of the time that's left on the clock is reserved for Mr. Bell and his agent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the commission, again, I'm Chris Gohagan on behalf of Riverbluff Properties. As I suggested, there's a number of folks here who are concerned about this project. They're concerned about their community. They want to ensure that the growth that's coming to our county comes in a responsible manner and doesn't affect their way of life. I was trying to take notes about the concerns that were raised, and in the time that I have left, I'll try and hit on a few of them. The first concern I heard was wastewater, surface water runoff from this property. All I can say to that is that every septic system that'll be installed on this site will have to be approved by the Bulloch County Health Department. Those are reviewed on a case-by-case basis and evaluated for hydrology and scientific measures to ensure that they're going to be safe and that any discharge from those systems will be safe for adjoining waterways and for adjoining properties. In terms of traffic, you've heard from Mr. Reiner, some upcoming changes to this area in terms of design changes to the intersection of 119 and Mud Road, and specifically how this property will be accessed for the residents who live there. Impact on schools. We know that there's a new school coming online in the southern end of the county. It's information that was passed along to me is at Southeast Bulloch. currently has capacity for students as they reach, that level of education. And staff has evaluated that matter specifically and determined this project won't impose an undue imposition on our infrastructure. Density is always a challenging issue. If you recognize that growth is coming to our community, then I think in some cases density is a good thing. If we're going to bring on 20,000 new citizens and add 4,000 new building permits, it's difficult to decide how you want to locate those buildings, where you're going to put them. I think in many cases, it's a better use of land to put those units on a more dense site than it is to spread them across the county. I recognize opinions will differ on that matter, but density is a positive thing and promotes controlled growth in many cases. It was suggested that there's too many zoning changes. I think at one point the entire county was Ag 5. Zoning is a fluid matter. It does change from time to time. The comprehensive land use plan has identified this site as rural neighborhood for, based on what we can tell, over 20 years. It's been anticipated for quite some time that growth will be coming to this area and that we can anticipate higher density and some zoning changes specifically to this area. With respect to emergency response, I know that there's some anticipated improvements to the Stilson Fire Station. I know there's also 5 acres that the county has on 119 that's going to be developed for a new fire station in time. And I think it's important to consider that if this project is approved, these houses don't go up tomorrow. In fact, I think as this project is phased through, you can anticipate a 4-year build out until you've got a full residential subdivision in this area. That gives the county some time to enhance our emergency response in this area, and I think there's already plans to do that. It was suggested that this project, if approved, might create a domino effect of rezoning in this area. All I can say to that point is this body is entrusted with each application. Every one of them has to come before you. You evaluate them on a case-by-case basis. As you do, you consider the infrastructure that's already available, the housing that's already available, and we trust that you're going to make wise decisions on each of those future applications. In terms of impact on schools, it was suggested that there might be 2.1 children per household. I think it's impossible to predict how many school-age children we might have in this, but the staff report suggests and envisions 36 school-age children. That's a big difference between 36 and what would be 135 based on that calculation. I think those were all the concerns that I heard voiced, at least that I jotted down. 22 seconds left. If you have any questions for us, we're happy to address them. With that, we ask your consideration of this request. We appreciate it and ask that you look favorably on it.
We have any questions from the commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, not necessarily questions, but I'm going to try to get some answers for some people on both sides of this. As far as the fire and EMS and all of that, I'm going to let the ones speak that know. And Brian Hendricks and Ben Tapley, the fire chief, I talked with them just like you did. You, Chairman, stated that he had several calls. I stayed on the phone all day yesterday with Charles Wilson, superintendent of schools, and tried to get some verification on when, where, and how the schools was going to be built. We got Alicia here. I'm probably going to get her to come up here. But Brian, you and Mr. Ben, I asked y'all, and I'm going to let y'all explain to them, when is the fire station going to come online down there? When is the EMS going to be there? When is the fire trucks going to be there?
Ben Tapley, Fire Chief. We have plans already drawn by the architect for improvements at Stilson. Right now, the fire trucks are there, staffed with volunteers. Looking at maybe within a couple months getting started with the demolition and reconstruction, kind of like what we did in Cleto, adding closing in one of the bays and adding the living quarters in for our full-time staff. If I'm not speaking for you, but I think he's hoping for January, maybe.
Budget's approved January 1.
You know, if the budget's approved January 1, being able to hire people, and that should be when construction should be finished down there. He can have EMS. Right now, the fire, we don't have any funding for personnel down there. We would have to have increased revenue before we can get and hire the 9 people we need to staff that. hopefully it would be July 1 of next year.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to give everybody an update on where and when
Yes.
that would take place. And that's good. Thank y'all. Unless somebody else got a question for me. Mr. Pope, you stated, and I stayed on the phone today with Miss Jean Ann Marsh too. She is the chairperson of the planning and zoning. You stated in the opening that it was unanimously. Now, I don't know. I don't attend the planning and zoning meeting, but I was told that it was one person that did vote for it. Is that correct? Mr. Schubert Lane, I'm pretty sure. Is that right, Miss Jean Ann? Okay. I just wanted to make sure it all gets told right. County assistant engineer. Lord have mercy. Mr. Nelson, would you come up and give, now Mr. Nelson is the assistant county engineer. He works for Bulloch County now. He retired from the DOT and he has been in contact with the DOT and he can tell you exactly what's going to go on at that intersection and when it'll be done.
Ron Nelson Engineering. Thank you, Commissioner Rushing. So I did contact GDOT and just try to get them get a better understanding of the intersection there at 119 connector, State Route 119, and then also 119 spur. The spur being the curved area, it's about a little over 0.2 of a mile. That particular location is planned to be removed during the course of fiscal year 26. So sometime between July the 1st of 25, June 30th of 26, there's a planned removal. And then the establishment of, it's actually a two-way stop intersection there, where currently the condition is a stop condition on 119 if you're coming from the river up towards the intersection with Mud Road. Mud Road is currently a stop condition. 119 is currently a stop condition, and then existing 119 onto 119 connector will be a through condition such as it is right now. So that project's coming online during the course of FY26, and that has been confirmed with GDOT.
Has that project been adopted by GDOT?
It's actually called a quick response. So it's going to be done as a quick response. So it'll be done. It'll be prioritized in their delivery of FY26, and it hasn't been fully prioritized yet, but it is moving through the prioritization within District 5. So District 5 here, Jessup, they're the ones that are at the helm of that one. They decide that when it'll actually happen. But it has been funded. Yes, sir, that's correct. And also I did find it in the project file where the county commission, as far as that intersection improvement there, has been, as far as a letter went back a couple of years ago through the previous county engineer, Brad Deal, giving it a letter of recommendation from the county commissioners.
So that should be completed in a year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. By June 30th of 2026. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. So everything, EMS, fire and all should be within a year or so down there.
That's correct.
Another thing, Mr. James Pope, you mentioned that this was in the 2040. Was that you or Mr. Cohagen, the 2045 plan? I thought it was the 2040, maybe the 2045 plan. This being in the growth map, how long has this piece of property been in the growth map in Bulloch County?
It's been on the map since at least 2009, where it's like a rural crossroads. A lot of the Stilson, Leafield, Eldora, New Hope, some of those, again, rural crossroads were identified as areas where it would support a little more density than, just kind of out in the middle of nowhere. There's some tie-in with infrastructure and transportation that would lend to a little higher density at the crossroad. Okay. And Commissioner, you are correct. I stand corrected. The Planning Commission voted 3-1, so I misspoke on that.
So there wasn't but 4 members at the planning and zoning, not a full staff at the planning and zoning.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nelson, I don't have any more unless somebody else has something for you.
Thank you, sir.
Now, I've been And Alicia's a cousin of mine, so I guess me and her can talk any way we want to. But she just happens to be a Bulloch County Board of Education member. And I'd like to ask her to come up here to this podium, and I'm going to ask her a few questions because I've tried to explain it to some people such as Randy Proctor, and I can't seem to get anywhere. Randy called me at the house and was getting on to me about how much they spent for some land and where they was going to put it at. And I told Randy, I said, look, as a Bulloch County commissioner, I'm a commissioner. I'm not a Bulloch County Board of Education member. I don't go to the meetings. I don't sit there millage rate. They set their own millage rate. They buy land, give whatever they want to for it, and put a school whatever they want to, whenever they want to. But undoubtedly, Randy didn't believe me because he come up here at the podium and got on me in front of everybody and said I had the gall to tell him over the phone that we didn't have anything to do with that. I can tell you Timmy Rushing don't have anything to do with it. And I don't know about the rest of these commissioners up here. Maybe y'all set their millage rate or tell them where to put schools. I don't know. But Miss Alicia, if you would come up here, please, and explain. Or Mr. Lanny, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Either one of you. Well, my blood pressure is going up, so can I go with you? Go ahead. Have a good evening. And this is Mr. Lanny Lanier, and he was, I don't know if he was the chairman, but he was a board member years ago, and he is back.
I was chairman once before, quite a few years back, but I'm back on the board now. Wasn't prepared to speak, but since I'm called on, I will. Mr. Rushing, did you have any specific questions
I don't really have any because that's your side of the road, and I try to stay on mine. But I think the people out here want to know when y'all gonna build a school, where you gonna build it at, and what your intentions are. And because I don't have any of the answers, but we keep getting asked these questions, and being you were a chairman and now you are a board member, I feel sure that you can answer them for us.
I can answer some. I spoke to Mr. Mosley this morning. Ray and I we go way back, had a good conversation, and I told him this is out of our lane. School board has a lane, county commissioners have a lane. I said if you go down the highway and everybody stays in their lane, traffic flows smoothly. We're getting out of our lane, but since you asked me some questions, I'll be glad to answer. And I'm sure all these people behind me have some questions as well. As far as schools go, with the proposed, by the way, there are 3 board members here tonight. I'd like to, Ms. Alicia Neville, Ms. Jennifer Mock is also here. And we appreciate, her service as well. So we got 3 board members here for the record. And Ms. Mock, if you have any comments, we'll be happy to share the podium with you. But let me address some of the things that were talked about. We don't know how many children would come out of this development or any other development, but it would be some, and they would be zoned to Stilson Elementary. And as was noted earlier, there is a high school coming online. It will be a much larger capacity than the existing high school. If the sales tax passes at the next election, we will have funding and we can proceed with construction of the new Southeast Bulloch High School. Property's already been purchased. That's already in the works. We just need to approve the sales tax in order to fulfill the funding to get that project going. The rub comes when you add additional students to the elementary schools. In Bulloch County, we've always tried really hard to keep the student to teacher ratio low in the lower grades at the elementary school. You can have 25 or 28 kids in a classroom at the high school level, and that's okay. You can function that way, but you don't need 25 to 28 kids in a second, third grade classroom. You want to keep those student teacher ratios low, and we've heard projections if there are 36 children that come out of this development that go to Stilson Elementary, well, 36 kids, that's 2 whole classrooms, if you want to look at it that way. There are not 2 empty classrooms in that building to accommodate the children. So another way to look at it, student to teacher ratios would have to rise. You'd have more kids per classroom. That's the only way to function. And now Stilson is the school performs very well. If you want to up the teacher ratios from whatever it is now, 17, 18 kids to 25 kids per classroom, you're going to see your performance drop. There's no way around that. But let me answer a question that no one has asked me, and that's about funding. And I made a Facebook post that got a lot of attention. We just passed the budget for the school board with a deficit in it that we cannot continue to keep doing because our state funding was cut dramatically this year, starting July 1 of 26, this fiscal year, which starts July 1. We got cut $6 million in state funding. And it was because the tax digest in Bulloch County had grown so rapidly, both in volume and in increased values, that Bulloch County was put into a, quote, higher wealth category, and we did not qualify for as much state funding as we have been receiving. So that's $6 million that we had to absorb at the last minute. And that's the major factor for the deficit in the budget. And the trend is going to continue that we're going to see declines in our state funding as the tax digest grows. And as you add more developments and you add more value to the existing properties, we expect that the state's going to continue to cut our state funding. And we only have two options from the Board of Education. That is to cut, or we can raise taxes, or we can do both. And we don't look forward to doing either one, but I can go on record, anyone who can do basic math can see that the funding model that at our current millage rate is not sustainable. And as development continues, I can promise, I hate to say this, but I can promise you're going to see some significant local tax increases because we just have to keep up with development. And if you want us to buy mobile units and put behind schools, we can do that. That's very cost ineffective, but that's the next thing. And, I've taken more than 2 minutes, but I hope I've responded to some of your questions. Ms. Mock, you have anything?
You have, Mr. Lanny, and I talked to Mr. Charles, and I told Charles yesterday, I said, look, I think y'all do a wonderful job. I'm not calling you up here. I'm actually calling you up here to get the monkey off of my back.
Well, have I helped you in any way?
If you can explain to everybody that it's not up to the commissioners where or when you build a school.
That's our lane.
That's your lane.
Your lane is these kind of things.
That's right. And I fully agree with you 100%. And then I'm going to go into what I got to say about
Okay.
that. Just like at the school board, when somebody, either if they come live with their grandmama or whatever, and they go to school, y'all got to create a seat for that child to go to school.
If they're legally there, yes.
Yes. Now, where the county commissioner's at is when you've got a project that comes online that's been on the books for 20-something years, that checks every box, goes above and beyond everything. Can we turn it down? Yeah, we can turn it down. We can turn it down. I'll let Mr. Jeff Akins guess at this. I don't know how much it's going to cost him to defend this, but I can promise you, you can call it millage increase or what, but it's going to be a tax increase because we're going to have to fight this thing, I can tell you. I mean, because there's no legal stand that this commission can actually turn this down and not survive in court.
I can't address that because that's not our decision to make.
I'll let Mr. Jeff Akins. But I do appreciate what y'all do. I just wanted some input to where y'all's lane was at, that y'all controlled y'all's own millage rate. Y'all build your own schools. If y'all gonna put mobile classrooms, that's y'all's business. That's totally y'all's business. And this rezoning stuff is our business.
That is
correct. If anybody's got a problem with the schools, they need to talk to Charles Wilson or Mr. Lanny, because I don't attend your meetings and I don't say anything to do with that. I just wanted to clarify that.
Any comment? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Lanny.
Mr. Lanny, would you agree or disagree with this common sense approach that the Bulloch County Commissioners, through zoning and putting in subdivisions, and the city of Statesboro, through developments and annexation of land, put the people in this county that have kids that y'all are then in charge of educating?
Oh, absolutely correct. Yes. Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lanier. Do we have any other questions or comments from the commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Pope, on your staff analysis, and y'all don't have to send him a sympathy card because I talked to him yesterday and told him I was going to raise this question. On the physical and economics of this staff report, was House Bill 581 part of this analysis?
Simple answer is no. It is based off of the current millage rate, splossed in effect, some other items out of our budget. They plug into the model that you can write a very detailed fiscal impact analysis for every subdivision or development that it can be done. It's pretty complex. There's the Envision Tomorrow impact tool that is widely used in the planning world, and it kind of it obviously makes assumptions on some things, but it's primarily driven based on how much population is going to be introduced into the system. What are the average sales for the houses, which for this analysis I utilize the Riverbluff subdivision, which would be a direct correlation with the size houses that are going to be built here, and it really shows you a kind of an assumed break-even point. I mean, that's the kind of some of the math behind it, but there's indirect benefits or negativity with subdivisions that an impact tool would not be able to address. But at 7 years, that's about what this tool says would be a break-even point. And as time goes on, those properties pay more taxes, and you recoup some of the initial costs. But yes, there's some impact to
say that
the
again
system.
about the taxes. Say that again about the taxes.
So as time goes on, you recoup the costs that this development would cause up front. So, in looking at timelines for build out, I mean, Riverbluff's taken since 2019 to build out, and he's got a couple of more phases. So this being a smaller subdivision, I would say you could build it out in 7 years for sure. So, it's a snapshot. It's not a end all be all tool to say, in 7 years, would I bet that it's down to the penny? No, I wouldn't. But just again, kind of gives you an idea about what the build out scenario would give.
With the people that came to deny this request, it came to protect your community. Please stand. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, when you need a motion, I'm ready to make one.
I have something.
Go ahead, Mr. Newkirk.
We're talking about lawsuits possibly and all that. What, the Schumann Road track over there, was it in the growth map? At Old River Road?
It was not consistent with what was zoned.
Okay. And that just happened to be at a lawsuit too, right? And it did not get overturned, right?
Yeah, that's correct. The neighbor sued and the judge upheld the county's decision.
So they did uphold what we wrote it on,
That's
just
correct.
because it didn't fit the, okay. All right.
correct.
I'm with the crowd tonight. I mean, I am. I look at the planning and zoning, they denied it. I see the people out here, and I ran on listening to the public, and that's what I'm going to do tonight. The schools are overcrowded. They might say the numbers aren't right, but every time you try to do a school choice, there's no schools available in this county right now that you can do a school choice, which means it is overcrowded. The infrastructure's not there, and I'm with Mr. Ray.
Any other questions or comments?
I got one. Being everybody else don't talk.
Go ahead, Mr. Connor.
Uh,
I believe we still got the District 1 gentleman over here.
yeah, I know. I got to get in front of them. They're more important than me. First thing I would like to say, we've been through a many bad rezoning meetings in this building. I appreciate the way every one of you handled yourself tonight. We've been through a bunch of bad ones, and y'all have handled yourself like professionals. I talked to quite a few of you, and you know, I asked you to do that because at the end of the day, Mr. Robbie Bell's in business. At the end of the day, y'all go to work or y'all work y'all's business. Business is business. Okay, there's no need for any other hoo-la and everything else. Mr. Robbie has been very in contact with some of y'all and in contact with me, and like I'm sure with all the other commissioners. He's tried his best to explain his reasoning and how he's willing to work with the county by prolonging construction, this and that and the other. I'm with that, and I understand that. Mr. Robbie has done a lot more for this county than just that. That he's never asked for to be noticed about or anything. I'm also with the fact that I cannot, in good gracious, trust what either any one of you tell me or even what Mr. Robbie's going to tell me. All I know is the facts. Facts are we're not ready yet. We do not have it in place and we are not ready. I cannot trust this on board right here saying you, they'll put an investigator on you. People off this on board to do it. We are not ready. I don't trust anybody.
Mr. Mosley? Mr. Simmons?
Well, the only thing that I got to say is we do have a planning and zoning board, and people got to understand that it's an advisory board. It's not the end-all board. We put them in place to give us advice because they say we need to turn down something does not mean that we want to do it. And we have the last word. Two is this particular property is in the zoning plan, and it's been in there since '09. Three, this is a suggestion. If maybe y'all need to get together and offer to buy the property from me, and then y'all can stop him from developing it. Three, Mr. Wilson said that they still have room down there. Four, he not finna tomorrow build all these houses out there. They ain't gonna spring up. It's gonna take some time for him to do it. Five, you know, we've been beaten up pretty bad about what the school board has to do. I am so glad you stood up here and said the school board does what y'all do, and we do what we do, and we try not to cross that. But over this past year, we've been beaten up about what the school board does. We don't handle school board business. We handle what the county does. I think the problem is if we don't do what our plan has put forth, we will probably end up in a lawsuit. And somebody will say, well, we got insurance that'll help us with that lawsuit. Well, you got to understand this. You think you don't have to pay, you think taxpayers don't pay the insurance company? That's taxpayers' money. So it's not an easy decision. But I'm not speaking for Mr. Bell, but I imagine that's where we will end up for not following the plan that we set out to do. That's all I have to say.
I would like to say this. I ain't gonna say no more. We'll just vote on it, and let it go where it goes. It hadn't been mentioned, and but I've talked just like all of y'all, like Toby. Ain't ready. Whatever, school's gonna be. If Robbie wants to come and mention it now he told me that he'll wait until all this road's changed and whatever, and he'll give you a date that he won't start building on it. But you talk about farmland, he's gonna sit. It's gonna be 5 acres. It's gonna be sold. They're gonna be houses on it, and there's gonna be a road comes out on that road. Now, I can just tell you what he told me. He said he would be willing to wait until the spur was took out, and the fire got down there and the EMS got down there and whatever anybody wanted him to do. He said he ain't on fire. I think he's here. I don't know if Robbie's in here or not. There he is right there. If you want to say yay or nay, it's fine with me. But you know.
I have no issue of waiting until they take the spur out, and I understand that, it would be probably about a year before to 2 years before they get a fire station down there. We're not planning, if we started tomorrow, it would be a year and a half before we were even prepared to start selling lots. And then it would take at least 2 years minimum to build out. So when we look at it, I mean, it's somewhere between houses would be available starting around mid-27 and would possibly sell out in mid-29. So again, we're not talking that we would have residents out there tomorrow. It would be, anywhere from 2.5 to 4 years from now. But I have no problem committing that we would not, sell the first lot until at least after the beginning of 27, which should give you all more than enough time to get the improvements in place.
Thank you.
I think, Mr. Chairman, all the commissioners spoke, and just throw my 2 cents out there. I've spoken to a lot of people in the last 2 days. I said earlier, I don't think I've talked consistently to that many people in a long time. So I understand what's at hand. I've been in a similar situation. There was a project that developed in my case years ago, and it had to do with a mobile home park. And not going to get into that, but I do understand that we need to, at some point, either follow our plan or plan perhaps need to be adjusted or rewritten. And I think I also spoke to Mr. Bell. One thing as a commissioner, and I've been consistent about this, and Mr. Bell will tell you, I believe, that one of the questions I asked, did you reach out to the residents in the area in an attempt to have a conversation with the group? It's something that I firmly believe in, seeing if you can have a conversation. Now, if you make yourself available and nobody wants to talk with you, I can't do anything about that. And I believe that he did reach out. Well, he reached out. The gentleman here, I guess, has reached out. He was the spokesperson.
Offered to meet him with the people that live there, and he denied. He said he would meet with 2 or 3, but he didn't want to meet with all the families that were affected.
Well, like I said, I can understand with him just wanting to meet with maybe a smaller group because it has to
In respect, I understand. We wouldn't ambush him, and that was the word he used, was an ambush. And I could understand that, but we, as concerned citizens that live there, what we have, the quality of life we have, whether he built a house and they sprung up tomorrow, or he built a house and they sprung up in 7 years, our quality of life, as far as the neighbors there, would drastically be affected by 59 homes, and the county costs affected with that.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Davis, you look like you want to say something else down there.
3 of the sitting commissioners never voted for the 2045 plan. including your chairman.
Barring any other questions or comments, I'm gonna call for a motion on this issue.
Motion to deny.
Do I hear a second? All in favor? I see 3-4. How about the opposed? We're gonna go on record tonight with the chairman voting for the first time. I'm gonna vote to deny.
Wait a minute. Please. Mr. Chairman, I want to clarify, because if you vote to deny the motion, then nothing happens. The motion does not carry. Did you intend to say that you vote to approve the motion?
I vote to approve the motion.
All right, thank you.
My apologies. All right, there's a bunch of folks here, I think, that may not want to stay. If you don't, now is your opportunity to leave. You are more than welcome to stay.
Brenda Waltz. Thank you, I'm glad. Come see me.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not going to stay for the meeting, I'm going to ask that you go ahead and exit the room so we can go ahead and finish up with our business for the evening. Thank you. Mr. Pope, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Agenda item 3 tonight is a conditional use request by American Aero Real Estate LLC. The application is to operate a light manufacturing facility on the location, which is on US Highway 80 East, just south of or east of Brooklet. Mr. Steve Rushing will be acting as agent, or Mr. Chris Cohagen. Staff recommends approval of the conditional use with conditions, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the request. That was a unanimous 4-0 vote in favor. All right. This property was previously used as the W.K. Jones Sawdust and Lumber location, and so it's currently zoned light industrial with conditions. However, going back into the minutes, at the time it was zoned light industrial, there was no conditions that allowed for, and I guess maybe changing zoning ordinance now requires you to have a conditional use for light manufacturing. So location is, as said, just to the east or southeast of Brooklet, shown here on the map. This is the current zoning of the property. And the current, the American Aero, which is a light manufacturer, is actually located across the street in the Brooklet city limits, across Highway 80, as referenced, right under the BR1. So the facility would just be moving across the street, expanding, same manufacturing processes. You see with the aerial photo, the Jones Sawdust and Lumber operation has not operated in some time, and there's Again, currently the property is vacant. This is the site layout for the property. Again, access would be on US Highway 80, state maintained highway. You have, and you know, if there's concerns with the site plan, Planning and Zoning Commission would, I think there was some discussion at that, but the site plan is shown, appears to be adequate according to Planning and Zoning and staff. And this is the type of building that would be built, again, much larger than the current footprint of their operation across the street. And these are photos of the property when we place the zoning notice or the public hearing notice signs on the property. And driveway permits, or the driveway permit would be through the Department of Transportation, which would be the state agency. And so as long as they're satisfied with the site distance and everything, then that would be that. And then the conditions that staff recommends really deal with some architectural requirements and parking lot trees. So just to lessen the appearance of just a static building there on the US Highway 80. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Chris Cohagen.
Sir, before you start, I just want to clarify an issue here.
You want me to go first? You want to go first?
You go ahead and go first.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recuse myself from this one.
Absolutely.
This is my wife's project, by the way, and I just know I'm gonna be in hot water for something happens.
And I just want to go ahead and disclose, and we'll add this to the minutes as well, that Mr. Connor has submitted a disclosure to state his wife's interest in this project. Mr. Cohagen, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, I'm Chris Cohagen with Talby Rushing. Though I suspect you've heard about enough from me tonight, I do have the privilege of joining you again on behalf of American Aero Real Estate to ask your consideration of granting a conditional use permit for light manufacturing activities on their site at 16274 US Highway 80 East in Brooklet, which is currently zoned light industrial. I'm joined tonight by Kelsey Connor, who is CEO of American Aero Real Estate. I'm sure she's available to answer any questions you have specifically about her company and what they do and what they plan to do. But I'll introduce their company and the project for you. American Aero was founded in 2018. They started with 4 employees. They manufacture interior components for private aircraft, including some of the finest aircraft in the world, several of which are probably flying above us this evening. They now, since 2018, have grown to 90 employees. And with approval of this new facility, they'll have the capacity to employ 200 people. Traditionally, 75% of their workforce is drawn directly from Bulloch County. Their current site at 16274 Highway 80 East is located in the city of Brooklet. It's 1.53 acres, and it's zoned commercial under Brooklet zoning. The same processes that take place on that site will take place on the new site. I think Mr. Pope suggested it might move across the street. I just want to clarify, we're not closing down the existing facility. We will be expanding to a new facility across the street where perhaps 90% of the processes will move. But that existing site will continue to operate and continue to employ residents of our community and continue to generate quality components for private aircrafts. The new site, which you see on the video board, is 15.24 acres. It's zone light industrial. It's the former site of the W.K. Jones Sawdust and Lumber Mill. The adjoining properties, which you can kind of get a sense of on that that image, but if you go to an aerial, you maybe see a little bit better. W.M. Shepherd Lumber owns a property to the south. The Cromley family farm farms the land to the west through that considerable tree buffer. Highway 80 is located to the east, obviously, and there's vacant land to the north. Specifically to the north and east, you'll see there's considerable buffers between where this project will be sited close to Highway 80 and any activities that exist on those sites. There's a number of features of this project that I think make it particularly attractive for this conditional use permit. All of the activities that are currently taking place on the existing site will be replicated on the other site. That project on the existing site has been there since 2018. The company has received zero complaints from the community or from the city of Brooklet regarding their activities on their site. As I suggested, roughly 90% of those activities will move to the new site, where they'll be contained inside of a 45,000 square foot facility, new construction, purpose-built specifically for these manufacturing processes. All of their processes are fully enclosed. Not a single element of what they do takes place outside of their building, which is very important for the community and adjoining landowners. They only load during their day shift, and when you compare how they operate or will operate on this site to a sawmill, for instance, and the activity of trucks in and out of the site, you'll see much less activity going on this new site. The entire site will be fully fenced. This business is not open to the public, so the public does not come in and out of this facility. The only people coming in and out are employees and vehicles to deliver or to haul away. They have an on-site well that's sufficient to meet all of their water needs. And they have relatively few water needs, because a particularly cool element of this project is everything that they manufacture is self-extinguishing. Because these products go on airplanes, they cannot catch fire. They put themselves out. So when you consider a manufacturing process, a big concern often is what happens when there's a fire in the facility. Well, what happens when there's a fire in this facility is it goes out. It does not spread outside the facility, and the components that they manufacture ensure that. Because of that, there's not a fire suppression system needed. Also, because these are self-extinguishing products, there is no fumes. So there's no escapement of fumes from this facility. The only light that's required is light to light the parking lot for their employees and security, and there are no hazardous materials that go into any of these elements. This is a clean, light industrial facility. Every product that comes out of it is clean. We want to thank Mr. Pope and the members of the staff for their diligent work on the report, and noting that this project fully aligns with the comprehensive land use plan. Also noting that this project fully aligns with all the standards for conditional use permits, and all the conditions set forth in the staff report are acceptable to American Aero. In conclusion, I just want to mention this county has a number of phased industrial parks. Every one of those is light industrial. When you consider the manufacturing processes that take place at somewhere like Great Dane, or in producing highly technological glass, those are much more heavy manufacturing processes. This is truly a light industrial facility producing clean products. And unlike a lot of the projects in those industrial parks, American Aero has never received a single tax abatement, and it has never asked for one. We ask that you look favorably on this application and grant the conditional use permit for this use. I'll reserve the balance of my time for any questions.
There's no one listed that is signed up to speak in opposition to this, so I'm going to go straight to the commissioners for any questions or comments they have. Barring any questions or comments, I'm going to ask for a motion on this issue.
Second.
All
with condition.
motion stands as approved with conditions. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. And I just want to say for the record that I really appreciate self-extinguishing aircraft parts.
I want to say thank y'all for getting me off the hook.
All right, agenda item 4 tonight is a conditional use request by Ms. Sharon Hill, who submitted the application to operate a daycare facility within a residential neighborhood. The property is located at 609 Sweetheart Lane. Staff recommends approval of the request for conditional use, and Planning and Zoning recommended approval with an additional or one condition, in that the applicant would place a fence around the rear yard of the property. And there are supplemental standards that also apply to daycare facilities. This is a general location of the property. Sweetheart Lane is just on the north side of Georgia 24. say I think we had a case just to the north of this some time ago, but this is the zoning for the property. Is surrounding properties are R25. Across the road is across Sweetheart Lane is a light industrial zone property. So this daycare would operate as an in-home daycare as permitted by the state of Georgia. And here's an aerial of the photo. Again, the concern by Planning and Zoning Commission was that without a fenced rear yard, having a play area for the attendants there or attendees there. And so here's again the property when we place the zoning notice sign. And again, it's within the neighborhood along Sweetheart Lane. And with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Hill. Ms. Hill is the applicant and operator of the daycare.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Chairman and board. I'm Sharon Hill. My husband is Rodney Hill, and we actually we had a babysitting service back in 2019. So we've been operating since 2019. 2023, we actually wanted to stay in compliance with the state. So we actually came and actually received licensing so that we can actually be on the state board child care development so that we can make sure that we are actually doing what they say we need to be doing in order to have such facility. So in order to do that, we actually needed a zoning letter. In order to get that zoning letter, we actually had to come back to the county to get the necessary paperwork. However, we needed to actually get the zoning letter, but we was unable to get the zoning letter because when they first initially we started off, I guess we didn't need a zoning letter. The late Mr. Sidney and another young man came out and looked at the area, and we actually did get the actual licensing. We got the licensing, but some of the things was not done, and so now we're here, and we're just trying to see what we can do in order to get approval so that we can continue on to provide actual services for the families that we have. We are actually in the process of doing just that, doing the fencing since they said we had to do it. The project actually to do the fencing is $17,000. So we are actually working to make sure that we do whatever it is that you guys say we have to do in order to continue on with the process of taking care of the children that we currently have. We're not going to actually, the number of kids that we're going to have will be like 10. The ages are 0 to 6. We do have a 6-year-old that is actually artistic, that is actually there with us. So we actually are just trying to make sure that we do the right things and making sure that we are in compliance, not only with the state, but also with our county. So with that being said, I hope that you guys will actually grant us the approval to go forward with the actual conditions to make sure that we have the fencing in order to do so.
And I believe that there is no opposition for this one as well either. So I'm going to open this up to questions and comments from the commissioners. Hearing none, I'm going to ask for a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Do I hear a second?
With conditions. Sorry.
Oh, so just to clarify, motion stands with conditions. With conditions. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and I believe that ends our zoning portion of this meeting. And before we go any further here, I'm going to request a motion for about a 5-minute break.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. We'll return at your second was Mr. Mosley. So let's see where we at here. We're done with zoning. All right, so we're at the general agenda here. Before I entertain a motion to approve the general agenda, do we have any other discussion or modifications decided by the county manager or the board? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a motion on the general agenda. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. At this time, I'll recognize those citizens who have signed up to address the board. Once your name is called, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and make your comments. All speakers who are recognized will be allotted 5 minutes.
Bruce Simons.
Hello, I'm Bruce Simons. I live in Highway 46, 101 Rabbit Hill Lane in Pembroke in Bulloch County. No, I'm up here for main reason is, everybody knows we got a little bit of shortcomings in Bulloch County right now. And we need to look at all this development. There's another thing we need to do on cutting taxes for senior citizens. And we all know that. We got some senior citizens that's in a bad way. And we need to implement an impact fee for all development. It's time for it, past time for it. We got to have it. We got to have an impact fee. We gave away the farm with some of these abatements. We can't get back. We cannot continue having a private landowner foot all the bills of property taxes. The impact fee, we need to just put a freeze on all the development, all rezoning, until we get a full study of the impact fees. We need to do that before anything moves forward. And y'all, you guys have impact on the school system. If you rezone something and put more houses, it's an impact on the school system. You can say what you want, but you do have a say. And some of y'all saying you're staying in lane, but your lane is to make sure schools don't get overcrowded. So I never mind. But we need the impact fees for our emergency services, our schools, our public works, and our traffic. We just can't continue on the path we're on. We got shortcomings. We got senior citizens that need breaks. We did get the home state exemption valuation that I brought up here 2-3 years ago, and that hurt, but we needed it. We needed it. We don't need people losing their property. So just think about that. Freeze all this rezoning and growth of development, anything that's going to affect us that we need an impact fee for. If somebody wants to develop, they need to pay their share. We can't keep on the landowner paying everything. The private landowner paying all the taxes. That just can't keep on. So I just want to put that on record. As a citizen, we need it.
Thank you, Mr. Simons.
Thank you.
Is that Brenda Walls? Brenda Walls. Okay. Marcus Toole.
Marcus Toole, 8 Crescent Avenue, Statesboro, Georgia, and I'm here with Habitat for Humanity. And this is just for the board's information, and also the citizens of the county, and to also correct maybe some misinformation that's out there. Habitat for Humanity recently, in partnership with the city of Statesboro and with Agape Fellowship or Agape Worship Center, received a $1.6 million grant. It's going to be managed through the city, so the city is getting the $6.1 I mean, $1.6 million, but we will be using a lot of that money for building 6 houses on Pine Street in Statesboro, Georgia. That's off of Johnson Street, kind of near Butler Homes. That area has historically, I would say recently, been a little bit of a violence hotspot. So building homeowner-owned houses in that neighborhood will resolve a significant problem for the city of Statesboro and the people who live in that vicinity. Want to give a big shout out to Agape Worship Center. They will be reimbursed about 24% of their original investment in the property. In terms of the amount of money that they will be eating to make this project happen, it will constitute the largest financial donation to Habitat for Humanity that I know of ever since I've been with the affiliate, and it's probably the largest one in our history. So from a single source. So that contribution to the project is huge, and we wish to say to you guys and to the people of Bulloch County and to Agape Worship Center, thank you very much. This is a big, huge help. To let you know about how the houses will be sold, the Habitat houses, just to help you give you a grasp of the financial side of it. The average Habitat house is currently, the fair market value of them is around $200,000. We sell the houses to people between 30 and 60% of area median income at a price that they can afford. It usually amounts to around $100,000. The person pays for the house over a 25-year period. It's a mortgage, just like any other mortgage. Often Habitat for Humanity originates the mortgage and is the lender, and sometimes it will be a USDA loan, or sometimes we will package the loan for another entity. The other thing to note about it in terms of who qualifies for a Habitat house, they have to be a person who has lived or worked in Bulloch County for 12 months. They have to be between 30 and 60% of area median income. They have to be willing to help build their own house and be willing to help build someone else's house. And finally, they have to have show that they pay their bills. They have to have a credit rating, that's able to show that they are a good risk for owning and getting a mortgage for their house. And so this is a great project. It will add 6 houses to the community. It will put the land back into the tax registry, and the people will be homeowners paying property taxes like most of the rest of the people in this building. So anyhow, I wanted to let y'all know about and let the people of Bulloch County better understand this project and the benefits for our community. Thank you very much.
Raymond Williams Jr.
Moving into our consent agenda, I'm going to read all these items and then we'll go through them individually or collectively, however y'all want to. Number 1, approve the minutes from Thursday, May 15th, 2025. Number 2, approve the minutes from Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. Number 3, approve the tennis courts and basketball courts conversion project at Brooklet Park by Advanced Athletic Services, LLC, in the amount of $39,980. Number 4, approve the purchase of a Kubota L5460 HST with loader and a 6-foot bucket from Shea Tractor and Equipment through Sourcewell Contracting in the amount of $46,868.90 for Parks and Recreation. Number 5, approve the annual renewal of the Statesboro Bulloch County Airport Liability Insurance coverage through Global Aerospace in the amount of $3,890. Number 6, approve individual project order number 4 in accordance with the master agreement for continuing professional services dated August 30th, 2024 from Kimley Horn and Associates in the amount of $234,900 for providing design and engineering services for permanent drainage repairs to Country Club Road to be funded by T-Splost. We can approve these items collectively, or we can move any items to new business for further discussion. Do I have a motion?
Receive them all collectively, Mr. Chairman.
Second. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to new business. We're going to discuss approving an amendment to section 3-26C5 of the Code of Ordinances, and this is going to be County Attorney Jeff Akins.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Eric Van Otteren, who owns a farm winery on Highway 46, has requested an amendment to the alcohol ordinance that will allow farm wineries to sell distilled spirits and malt beverages for consumption on the premises in addition to wine. The presented amendment will allow farm wineries to sell distilled spirits and malt beverages for consumption on the premises, but it requires that at least 50% of a farm winery's total alcohol sales must consist of wine produced by the farm winery. And if the amendment is adopted, the fee schedule will also be amended to raise the license fee for a farm winery from $2,500 to $2,750. And I think Mr. Van Otteren is here tonight to address the board. I would like to point out, this, when you look at this amendment, it's very brief. So you may think, well, it's not much of a change, but it really is. It's pretty significant change because right now, under the alcohol ordinance, in order, with the exception of a farm winery, to have a consumption on the premises license. In other words, if somebody wants to serve mixed drinks or beer or wine to be consumed on the premises, they have to have basically a restaurant. At least 50% of their revenue has to come from the sale of food. Now, that's not true with a farm winery. A farm winery can sell its wine for consumption on the premises, and they don't have to serve any food. So if you approve this, then a farm winery is going to still not be required to serve any food, but they'll be able to serve mixed drinks and, or I guess, straight liquor for that matter, somebody who wants it, and beer in addition to their wine. And they could serve other wine too. Now, there's some interplay between the alcohol ordinance and the zoning ordinance because a farm winery has to have a minimum lot size of 30 acres. So if you don't have at least 30 acres, you can't have a farm winery. And a farm winery must produce no less than 2,000 gallons of wine annually. So if somebody says, well, I want a farm winery, they've got to get a conditional use to have one in the first place. But they've got to have more than 30 acres, and they're going to have to produce more than 2,000 gallons of wine annually to meet the definition or the qualifications for a farm winery under our ordinance. So, if we enforce that, that should put some parameters on. I guess the concern about this amendment is, and I've shared all this with Mr. Van Otteren when we met about it, so I'm not ambushing him with anything that I haven't already said to him. The concern would be that, you might have somebody who tries to use this as a loophole to basically have a bar, juke joint, whatever, and they're not a legitimate farm winery. So I think the 2,000 gallons, that's going to have to be enforced. And that's a little bit of an issue with Mr. Van Otteren. He's had a conditional use out there for several years. Do you remember when was it approved, Mr. Van Otteren? Okay, 2018. But he has not been able at this point to ramp up to that level of production. So, but anyway, those are the points I wanted to share with you. And I think, Mr. Chairman, he wants to address the board. So,
Mr. Van Otteren, the floor is yours.
Chairman Bennett, Commissioners, thank you for entertaining my request.
There are some little thorny pieces of this, and I want to share first that in 2017, my family took this on as a dream, and we've been before you more than once to ask you to do different pieces of it. We finally got it approved in 2018. COVID set us back, and there's been a long journey. We have made every effort to get there, and currently I have 200 gallons of mead in the tank that I'm preparing for hopefully for an August 8th opening, and I have every intent of producing at least 2,000 gallons a year. The requirements that I want to chat a little bit about, but before that, I'd like to just address a couple of things that Mr. Akins said as well, Attorney Akins said as well. There is more than just your requirements to establish a farm winery. I have a full federal license, and I have to report to them quarterly or annually on my production, the amount. I pay taxes to them. There's a full state license that has to be gathered, and that is not an easy thing either, and I pay taxes to them as well. There is your licensing, and then I'm also licensed by the FDA and the Ag Department. All of these people take their little pound and come and inspect me and make sure I'm doing what I say that I'm doing. And then you have to buy all the equipment to have the farm winery. I have about $100,000 worth of equipment down there that I now pay taxes on. And so it's more than just your 30 acres. It's more than just somebody wanting to set up a jute joint in the county. There is a huge hurdle that I've been working on over the last 5 years to get there. And thankfully, in my dream, I'm getting there by August 8th, I hope, or hope to open in August. A couple of things I know that you're entertaining, increasing the fee. I'm a small business. I'm not going to be a huge business, at least at this point. Maybe in the future, that would be wonderful. But I pay not only your licensing fees, but I pay an excise tax fee to you. So you really don't need to increase the licensing fee, because the more I make, the more money you make, the more excise fee I pay. And so the goal should be that. Right now, if the total licensing fee as I added up for my small business would be $4,716, counting all of the different fees. And that's just in the licensing fees to you and the excise tax for 2,000 gallons. So that to me represents 786 drinks I have to sell before I even make money to pay for the next bill. That's not a lot for a Nats or a Del Sur or some of those kinds of restaurants. But I'm a small business. I'm going to be struggling out there for a while until I can get this thing off the ground, and I've been funding it out of my pocket. So just leave that as a thought to you. I would ask you to consider that. I'm not sure that $250 adds any kind of an increase. If somebody really wanted to go and spend all the money to do the things I've done, $250 is not going to do that. And if you choose to keep that fee, obviously I'll pay it gladly, because I want to be able to do this there. The reality is that in order to sell my mead, I have to get people there. In order to get people there, they got to want to come. And Statesboro is a beer drinking town, and the market for guys is a beer drinking market. So generally what meaderies find, and even some of the wineries find, is if you can offer beer, the guys will come, and then the girls will come with them, or the girls will bring their guys along because they know the guys can get a beer there and they can try it. And then we hope to cross over. My intent is not to be a bar, not to be someplace where you come and get it. I want to do mead cocktails and a little bit of mixed drinks for the guys so that they'll come and try the mead and sell the mead. So that's kind of a piece of that. That's the fee. The second piece, just to talk briefly about it, this was written also to say that 50% of the farm winery's alcohol sales must be consistent and produced on site. I talked with a couple of the other meaderies in Georgia. There's 3 of us. I think there's 3 of us left. 1 of us closed, 2 of us closed. This is very seasonal, and it's very, very oriented toward where you are in your launching and production process. So if you check my books the month after I open, I'm not going to be able to meet that rule. And I hope to meet that rule. I hope at some point, most of what my sales is mead, because that's my goal, is to sell mead. But the reality is, I want to meet and be legal and follow your rules and all of those things. But you're creating a rule that's going to make it difficult and hard to check. I can show you my books, but when you say 50% of the winery total sales, do you mean the total sales of the alcohol I purchased? Do you mean total sales of everything that I've sold? I mean, it just gets a little bit problematic on what you check. And I'm not asking you to remove the rule because I think it's something that we don't want to do. I'm asking you to remove the rule just because it's such a hard thing to keep track of. You can come down anytime and look at my facility and come down, and hopefully you will visit me at some time. We will have non-alcoholic drinks. The market
is moving toward low alcohol and no alcohol drinks. So I'll have to look at seeing what I can produce with those. So when you look at total alcohol sales, that may not be quite the number you think it's going to be when I get there. The bottom line is we don't know, because I'm just starting, and I'm starting in an area where there is no meadery, there is no winery here close by to kind of gauge what it would be. So that's my thoughts. I appreciate you for entertaining and growing my dream with me. And I would say in closing that a meadery is not only a business for the county, but I'm a tourist destination. I'm registered with Georgia Grown, and people have been coming to my property looking for me from out of this county to find out when I'm going to be selling mead. So I will bring people into the county and be a tourist destination and increase your sales all around the county by having people come here and by paying the additional excise tax. With that, if you have any questions, I'd be more than open to answering them. And I appreciate you helping me move my dream forward.
How are we checking this 2,000 gallons? And is it yearly, or is it from the purchase of the license date, or?
Well, they have to, you're supposed to produce 2,000 gallons of wine annually. So, but I don't think we check it. I mean, I'm going by what Mr. Van Otteren has represented to us, and he doesn't. Well, I think you said you had what, 200 gallons?
I'll do 200 this month. 2,000 gallons is 166 gallons a month. So that's my target goal initially to produce that. Right now I've got 200 gallons in the tank that I started 1st of April. Takes about 2 months in a tank to produce it.
But I believe that we could check it just by looking at your excise taxes for the state and federal government to verify that you've paid what you needed on there, and it's going to show exactly how much you've made.
Yeah, no, I have a report that I file with the state every month as to what I've put in the tanks, what's still in the tanks, and what I've taken out. So it's easy if you want to check. Yeah. And then I pay an excise tax to you, so you'll know.
I don't know if we've had a system to check. We only had one other farm winery that I'm aware of in Bulloch County. That was Minehart Vineyards. Yeah. They went out of business. So I think Mr. Van Otteren is the only.
I'm the only one.
At this
so
point.
You're deciding what you do to one business, one small business.
Yep. Jeff, the amendments to the ordinance now, is that pertains to the whole ordinance for everybody, or is?
Yes, that would, anybody who wanted to open a farm winery would apply to them. Yeah.
Are you going to try to open a farm winery?
No, I was just, I have no problem with it. But what you said, somebody using it as a loophole, I have no problem with Mr. Van Otter having a variance or whatever to that. But like you said now, and I can't imagine that you would think that somebody on a nightclub would use a legal loophole to jump through. Man, I owned one for 11 years here, but I can tell you that I don't know, because it's got the store at New Hope we was talking about, and everybody needs to brush up on the liquor laws, because I know, like a liquor store, the ATF and all checks you, and therefore you can't have any food or anything in there without an on-premises license. I'm all for what Mr. Van Otter is wanting to do, but I also, you tread lightly on what you changed the total ordinance to be, because yeah, if you got 30 acres and you want to open a juke joint, you can call it a winery if you want to.
Not without all the licensing.
Without what now?
Not without all the licensing.
Yeah, we would have to look at the 2,000. We probably have to start enforcing the 2,000 gallon rule more. And right now, Mr. Van Otteren is the only one here. But if you started having more, you got to treat everybody the same.
That's right. And I'm not against it. I know how to mop flops. I can just.
Yeah. And I'm all for him. It sounds like an interesting concept and interesting endeavor, but.
And he's right across the pond where Minehart's was. He's right up the road from my house. I know exactly who him and his boys are. And I remember when he applied, when he first got here. And has anybody signed up against him? Well, I was fixing to say now, he tried it, and he had a heck of a bunch trying to, but they've ironed that out. So,
Yeah, we have a really good relationship now with the 7 Mile.
I'm doing a real bad job of speaking very highly of you, but I just wanted everybody to understand. I understand part of what you're going through, but I ain't never had the wine license or anything like that. But I held an alcohol license for 11 years.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I want you to understand with the licensing is it's not just holding the alcohol license. I've been inspected by the feds. I've been inspected by the state. I've been, you guys, the number of licenses, if you wanted to open in June 20th, there's a whole lot of stuff you have to go through just to get to that point and then come to you and then you get to issue, in the end, you get to issue the license anyway. You approve all the alcohol licenses. So you would know, what the history is. And that's why I'm trying to be really above board about it. And when I approached Chairman Bennett about it, I told him, I said, I want to be, straightforward and let you know where things are. And so that's why I've been here and that's where I want to go. Now, I will say, just to make sure it's said, that the state farm winery laws allow for this loophole, and I won't call it a loophole, allow for this sales. It's just that I can't do it without local approval first. So I have to get approval from you in order to then, and the state's laws, or the state's approval is just more perfunctory once you do, but I can't do it without you.
Questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, I would say if you want to make any changes to this, then I would recommend you defer it so that you might state what changes you want to make tonight, but we need to, it's kind of hard to amend something like this on the fly, as it were. We would want to develop a revised amendment and bring it back.
Let's do this then. Do any of the commissioners have any concerns with the way this ordinance is written now?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we kind of table this until we can kind of understand it a little bit more. Maybe to the next meeting and let Jeff look at it and bring something. Because right now I don't understand it all.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure though what you're saying. Do you want me to change it?
I'm trying to say what you're saying.
Right, but what I was saying is if you wanted to do something different than what you have here, that you defer it and we can revise it. But I don't, without knowing what you want to do, I guess the chairman was asking if y'all had any concerns or wanted to change it in any way. I mean, or do you want to think about it?
So, and I just want to clarify that, Jeff did offer these changes. He has reviewed this and looked at it already. So, we can look at it some more, but really Jeff is going to be out.
Well, yeah, I will be out starting next Wednesday till the end of the month. But if y'all want to defer it, we could bring it back in July.
Can you restate your changes then?
Well, it just allows a farm winery to sell. Right now, a farm winery can sell wine for consumption on the premises and package sales of wine. This would allow a farm winery to also sell distilled spirits and malt beverages, which is beer basically, for consumption on the premises, not package sales for those two, but just consumption on the premises. And it requires that at least 50% of the alcohol sales must consist of wine produced by the farm winery. And I understood Mr. Van Otteren was asking you to consider deleting that provision, but that's up to you. If all you want to do is delete that provision, you could probably adopt it tonight. We just strike that out.
Delete the 50% sales.
Yeah, if that's all you wanted to do. And the fee, the license fee, by the way, is not, you're not approving that tonight. That would be approved as part of the budget, the fee schedule. But we would need to know, or Christy would need to know what you wanted to do with that.
Yeah, 2000 is part of the zoning law, not this law.
Okay,
So that has nothing to do with this.
Right.
The 2000 won't change. All we're looking at is the 50% and.
Yeah, this is
liquor
an
sales.
amendment to the alcohol ordinance, not the zoning ordinance.
All right, I'm going to call for a motion and rely on Mr. Rushing to carefully word this so that we all know what we're doing.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept this amendment to the 50% sales.
Second.
No, wait a minute. Are you saying you want to leave the 50%
A
in?
motion to amend it. I thought that's what we was doing. Word it for
All
me,
right, so
Jeff.
We're going to amend it and we're going to strike the 50% requirement.
Okay, that's the motion. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I don't know if I can legally say that.
No, just we need clarity on the motion, so that's clear.
So, Mr. Rushing, if you give us clarity one more time, please.
I make a motion to amend.
Okay. Approve the amendment.
Approve to amend it, like the chairman stated, to the county attorney that can say it ever how it needs to be said.
With the 50% requirement deleted.
So the motion on the floor then is to accept the amendments with the exception of the 50% requirement.
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
That was painful.
If I just take a minute, thank you for helping me move forward, and I encourage all of you, and come down. I can't offer you a free drink, so you'll have to buy it.
Moving on. Item number 2, approve the allocation of the remaining $2 million previously awarded Helene emergency funds to be equally divided into open purchase orders for Southern Disaster Recovery LLC, SDR, and Thompson Consulting Services LLC. Mr. Dink Butler.
Commission Chairman, Commissioners, thank y'all. Dink Butler, Public Works Director. I just want to make sure up front that everyone understands this is not a request for additional funds. The POs that were originally set and the dollar amounts that were attached to those have come to relatively an end. There's not enough funds in those POs to cover this additional $2 million. So we're asking to allocate the $2 million to new POs, and that we would use that money to close out the expenses of the Helene storm. I will say that right now we are estimating that we're going to come under the 13 million. We're not 100% how much, but right now it looks like we will be under the 13 million that was originally approved. We're just asking for approval to set these 2 POs so we can continue to cover the invoices.
Does this pretty much finish us up, or is there still some more POs that's coming in?
No, this should
This is
finish
the
it.
last little bit.
If I'm not mistaken, this should finish it up.
Go ahead there, Mr. Newhart.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
All in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank y'all.
Don't run off. Item number 3. Okay. Approved contract extensions for storm debris and monitoring with Thompson Consulting Services and Southern Disaster Recovery LLC.
Good morning. Good afternoon, excuse me. Robert Siemens, Assistant Director of Public Works. On October 11th, 2024, Bulloch County did enter an emergency extended contracts with Thompson Consulting and SDR, Southern Disaster Recovery. Southern Disaster Recovery has approached us and has requested approval for extension of the contracts for both them and Thompson's. They both go hand in hand. We can't have one without the other. To extend that contract from April 9th out to June 2025, as SDR has accomplished the final haul out of mulch from Bulloch County, the TDMSs, the laydown yards that we had. They had to stop due to weather back on April 4th. The weather and conditions would not support us cleaning out these sites. Since then, we came back on April 21st and through the 25th. This was after the April 9th contract deadline. They did get everything cleaned up and hauled off finally. Thank goodness. Effective March 12th, 2025, the Georgia Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency announced that Bulloch County had received a time extension for Category A and B in the FEMA 4830 DRGA project, basically this last Helene storm. Consistent with the extension approval, SDR requested an extension originally to April 30th, 2025 to encompass the entire work period. We, as staff, are requesting and recommending to go ahead and extend the contract on out to June 22nd, 2025 to allow both companies to complete any remaining invoices and administrative services to close out the storm declarations. At this time, basically, we're cleaning up the paperwork. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions from the commissioners? Not hearing any. I'm going to call for a motion on this issue. All in favor? Motion approved unanimously.
Thank you, sir.
Number 4, motion to approve a change order in the amount of $80,650, allowing McClendon Enterprises Incorporated to perform additional work at the Deacle Road drainage repair location due to further damages caused during the rainfall event that occurred May 9th, 2025 through May 14th, 2025. Mr. Ron Nelson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, this is a request for additional funds. We've got an existing contract with McClendon Enterprises Incorporated. We entered into a contract by consent on April the 15th of this year. We actually had planned to start working May the 7th, had a kickoff meeting, and we were moving towards May the 12th. And May the 12th, well, actually that weekend, ended up with a very large rain event that further damaged this location. Our friends at Public Works had actually gone through the efforts of dewatering this location on the upstream and downstream side. And I provided some pictures in the package as far as what the preconditions were and the post conditions were as far as rain event. But we're coming to you asking if we can get additional funds. And those funds will cover actually going back and dewatering this location so that we can go in and actually put head walls in. That'll be $28,502.09 by itself, and then go in and actually armor this location for future damage, try to protect it. $165.25 per ton, and that is including type 3 riprap and geotextile fabric that's necessary to accomplish that work. We're estimating about 185 tons for that particular portion of the work. And then also need to supplement the concrete that's going to go into these head walls. We did the engineer office did as good a job as we possibly could, honestly, to do a takeoff on what the volume of concrete was going to be. We were using a GDOT standard 1125 as the basis for the design. But this being an irregular design, so to speak, and I won't go into all the particulars, but the pipes that were actually installed by Public Works may not actually be at the proper, I won't say proper, the actual spacing that's actually mentioned in the standard 1125 that GDOT has for these head walls. That being the case, it's going to take additional concrete. So the concrete addition to go into this budget is going to be about 14 cubic yards at the price of $1,541.19 per cubic yard. That is the current contract price. We're just asking for additional to cover the amount of work that's going to be needed. Now, to go back a little ways, this project was deemed necessary through coordination with FEMA, but we're not going to go through mitigation with FEMA. This is an unpaved road on Deacle Road. So it'll be, I guess, public assistance. And so basically the only funds that can be recouped will be what Public Works did to try to go in and rehabilitate the location, cost of the pipes, basically force account, pay for what the costs were to Public Works. But the work we're going to do right here by putting these head walls in is not going to be associated with mitigation, so we will not be receiving any form of reimbursement from FEMA on this particular work. So we've got an existing contract worth $119,945.55, and collectively we're asking for an additional $80,650 to bring us to $200,595.55. Any questions?
Questions or comments?
Second. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, sir.
I believe that brings us to our commissioner and staff comments. I'm going to start with the staff first. Do we have any comments from the floor? Mr. Pope?
All right. Good evening, Commissioners. I'm James Pope, the Planning and Development Director. Hopefully you all know that, but for those in the audience that don't. I just want to give an update on the groundwater sustainability program. It's been a month or so since I've been up here and giving you an update. Just a reminder, we have a hotline that if or when a well in the 5 Mile area from I-16 and 119 intersection 5 miles out, if you have a problem with your well, we want to investigate it, make sure it's not any issue of ours that would come up from anything we do. But the hotline number is 1-888-353-8020. And we also have a website, brianbullochgsp.org. If you haven't visited that website, I encourage you to do so. There you can find how to file a claim and a lot of other documents associated with the program. Currently, the program has our second request for proposals underway, which is for the solicitation of on-call well drillers. The deadline for submittal on that is June 5th, so this Thursday. The previous RFP round had 2 submittals by well drillers in our community. The program's looking for 3, so we decided to go back out for an RFP submittal. We anticipate those same 2 submitting. I think, and Ron can back me up on this, but we had a lot of interest from well drillers to be a part of the program, but we'll just say that it's not a run-of-the-mill thing for the well drillers to be able to look out for. And so by the time our deadline came around, we had several looking to put it in, but we had a deadline. So, we decided to open it back up. And we're pretty confident that we'll have at least 3, maybe more, of well drillers that we'll place or go into negotiations with. And of course, that'll be additional action by you all. The voluntary well registrations to date, we have 205 entered into our system, and it's been pretty good as far as responding to those people with questions and how to register and things like that. So additionally, we have phone calls and emails regarding the program. We've in total answered 43 phone calls or emails about the program in general, how to register. We've had a few folks that call, and unfortunately they were without water, but our wells have not are not in operation. So that was an obvious no causation there on our part. And a lot of the problems that we're getting calls about are really from shallow wells that have no impact with our program, being that it's not in the Floridian aquifer. But I point that out to say that it does appear that our program is being acknowledged and is talked about in the community, and people are calling when they have issues. So I count that as a good thing. The program advisory committee meeting, our next meeting, we're going to hold it June 26th, and we're going to have that at the Bryan County Board of Commissioners meeting room in Pembroke. Now, perhaps the next meeting we'll meet here in Statesboro, but we've held the previous meeting and this meeting as close to the 5 Mile area as we can, really, to have adequate meeting space. But I envision that going back and forth between jurisdictions. But so anyways, from there, we'll have the agenda out pretty soon on that. And then, of course, that is an open meeting for the public if anyone wants to attend. But that'll be from 1:30 to 3 p.m. or we're planning to go to 3, but you know, if it takes longer for discussion, that's fine too. And additionally, I guess I told Dal this, but we're going to plan to have it live streamed. So that meeting will be live streamed like our last one. We should have a better internet connection, hopefully, Dal. So, but do y'all have any questions maybe for the groundwater sustainability program?
Mr. Pope, you got 2 Bryan County wells, 2 Bulloch County wells. When are each one of these 4 wells going to come online and start pumping?
The 2 Bryan County wells are began sooner in their construction phase, so we think that mid-July is when those will be, we'll say, ready to be operational. Now, Attorney Akins and I have talked with about getting the fund set up, right? And Jeff and Bryan County Attorney and their CFOs are working through that. The operational aspect of the well, they won't be in operation until all the T's are dotted and the I's are crossed. So there's a few steps to go before they're all in operation, but best case scenario, we're looking at mid-July. Our 2 wells are a little bit behind from when they got started. So no, I don't think it's not like all 4 are going to come on right at the same time, same day, because there is some construction difference there. So, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pope. Any other comments from the staff? Any comments or questions from commissioners? Everybody looks like they're ready to go home and go to bed. I do have a couple comments that I want to make here real quick before we wrap up here. Y'all bear with me. Dow can set the clock if he wants to. First thing I want to remind everybody of is that we're getting to the beginning of hurricane season. Getting to the beginning of hurricane season, I want to encourage everybody to start making your preparations now. Non-perishable goods, batteries, and an evacuation plan. Last year everybody thought that we were in Bulloch County, we were safe from hurricanes and other large storms, and we had a lot of people that had to evacuate. Now, with that, the topography of Bulloch County has changed over the last year. Where there were old mill dams, there are no more. That water is going to run faster to places because there's no way to hold it back. So that moves into my next topic. Last week was National Dam Safety Day. Corey, what day was it? Tuesday? 31st. So I want folks to be aware of where there's water around you and how that water is held back so that you can be prepared to leave very quickly if you need to, okay? So just keep that in mind. Next, I want to take a minute and talk about something I mentioned at our last meeting, and that was a uniform building code and zoning code. As we move forward, and I've talked some about how I've had builders from out of state, large conglomerates with lots of money that want to come here and build. They are coming. They are coming. If we don't start now to develop a uniform plan to protect the property and the character of Bulloch County, they will come through this county like the locusts went through Egypt. On that same lines, we've had some discussion about impact fees. I'm a very strong advocate for them. But impact fees will not fix this problem. They will not generate enough revenue to fix our tax deficits that we had this year. It's going to take more than that. And I'm all for the idea that if we need to slow building down, whether it be through a moratorium or other method until we can fix this, let's do it. Finally, talk about the budget for a second. We posted in the paper this last week. We're going to have our budget hearing on the 18th of June. We're going to adopt a budget on the 26th of June. So about 8 days after that. I want to remind everybody that right now that budget is still tentative. And I can tell you that over the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks since we've had our budget hearing, I've been going through that budget. There are things in there that I have cut. And I will present that plan to Christy this week. Actually next week when she gets back. And I've discussed it with her. And what she's going to do is actually show two different budgets, the recommended budget and the budget that I'm going to show with cuts to it. I can tell you that these cuts will affect this county. There will not be a service in this county that is not affected by these cuts. I've talked to Noel Brown today, and I've told him there will be cuts. I can make a proposal all day. The people in this county are going to have to make a decision about what they want to do with this. The choice will be up to you. But it's going to take rational dialogue, just like I said in our budget meeting, to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to fix it. Like Mr. Lanier said up here earlier, our county cannot continue to sustain itself financially just off of what we are doing right now. House Bill 528 has locked in a floating homestead exemption for the taxpayers of this county. That will cause limits on what your property taxes will go up, regardless of an assessment. The other piece to that still has not been enacted is the FLOST that was written into that bill. And we're working to get that put on the ballot in November. If you have property that is not homesteaded, the FLOST will make up the difference in the taxes to protect you. That FLOST will generate income that will go directly into the general fund to offset property taxes. So before anybody starts jumping up and down and saying we don't want another tax and we don't want another sales tax, you need to look at this and you need to look at the facts. I've been catching hell the last 2 weeks about I'm a turncoat, I'm evil, everything else in the world, because I've talked about realistically we cannot manage the budget in this county the way we're doing it right now. We're going to have to make choices. It is going to be a hard choice. And I will tell you all, the people that entrusted me to come up here and do something, I will tell you, if I'm looking at you and telling you that there's issues with this budget, there's issues. It's not because I'm a turncoat. It's not because of anything like that. But this budget that's set up to provide services in this county, if we cut it, the services will go down. I will show a budget that cuts it, and you'll make a choice. When those things are reduced, they're going to go away, and it will take years to recover those services. I think that's all that I have for tonight.
Mr. Chairman, let me mention one thing that
Yes.
I didn't get to say a while ago. It's about, and Dink and Robert know, well, everybody that works at the county knows it. The family that I mentioned earlier. Of course, Mr. Lanny from Port, everybody knows them. That's been around for a while, but that's Carlene Johnson's family and Mitch Johnson. I don't know how many of y'all know him, but he's, without Mitch Johnson, them two fellas over there over the transportation department would have more than their hands full. And that was Mitch's mama. And I just wanted to mention Mitch and his family. And if any of y'all see him, speak to him about his mama. And Dink, if you want to say anything about him.
Yeah, Miss Johnson actually was a servant to the county she retired as tax commissioner, I believe. Huh? Yeah. So, but Mitch has been with the county for close to 20 years, over 18, and is one of our. He actually is our lead field supervisor. Um, they It was a relatively short illness issues from the last couple of weeks, and then she passed away Friday, and so they had a funeral today, and just everyone keep them in your prayers. Um, Mitch's dad and mom were married for 58 years, and he is taking it really hard. So it's trying. Anyone who's gone through the loss of a mother, especially, and had to step in and help an elderly father deal with the issues and the loss, can understand that. And so Mitch has been out this week, and we've got a really good staff that has stepped up, covered, and for where we've lost him for this week. And so, yes, please remember the family. Keep them in your prayers. If you see Mitch or any of the family, please express your condolences to them, because it was a shock. Thank you.
Thank you, Dink. So moving forward, I must now call for a motion to adjourn into executive session in accordance with the provisions of OCGA 50-14-2(1) and OCGA 50-14-3(b)(2) and other applicable laws pursuant to the advice of County Attorney Jeff Akins for the purpose of discussing potential litigation and personnel. I will tell you that there is a strong potential that we will come back in for a vote after this meeting. You are more than welcome to stay if you would like, but we're going to ask you to vacate the room while we go into executive session, then you're welcome to come back.
Other than to adjourn. We are streaming again. No.
I know, we waited all this.
All right.
I could have done many. Yeah. That's great.
Just go for it, sit down.
All right. Need a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second? All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Meeting adjourned at 8:42.